for the past few years, a lot of people in New Orleans have been talking about how the city spends its money from the hotels and the hotel tax funding and stuff like that. How would you reallocate the hotel tax dollars towards like different programs such as like Nord and stuff like that?
Okay, so we're taking Nord back. When I take Nord back from Nord C, we save money automatically.
Real quick, could you explain the difference between Nord and Nord C?
Nord,
I know, but
New Orleans Recreation Department.
And commissions, right?
And now.
Yeah, that's what it is now.
Okay.
Which means they get paid now. Before it was a nonprofit.
To run our park.
Okay.
And so before, like my park where I'm from, and a lot of other parks I could say in New Orleans, it was people from around there just gathering the little boys. They knew them. They were comfortable with them. The kids were comfortable with the adults. There was an authority structure, but it wasn't forced. It wasn't just the guy that worked for North Sea and he did this the dude over you. It was a dude that you couldn't play with. He knew your mama, and you know there was a connection, a cohesiveness, right? And so they changed that to North Sea, where I started paying to play, where my mother was fighting and battling before she passed, right? But what's specific to discuss right now that's very detrimental about North Sea is the admin costs. All of the people on the commission, what they make in salary. And then they got us thinking that Larry Barbino from the Seventh Ward, a brother that we know and cool with, is running North Sea, but really everybody in the commission has a discretion over him that he can't debate. He cannot rebut whatsoever. And then the mayor's over that. You understand? And so won't be no North Sea or no issues with that when I'm mayor. But tell me the question again, because I had to clarify that.
It was reallocating the hotel tax dollars.
Okay, so yes. Things. So now the tax dollars okay, this is, if I get elected, this is what will get me elected right here. All right. The issue with the tax dollars is that we only receive like 13 to 18% of it. The state takes the lion's share and facilitates infrastructure in other parishes that we're not even welcome in. Okay? All right. So what we've seen is every mayor use that as a scapegoat to ditch having to deal with the issue. But what I do understand is that as mayor of New Orleans and third most powerful person in the state of Louisiana, I could use my discretion to force the businesses to deal with me upon their entry to Louisiana or New Orleans specifically, right? Meaning like how I just told you, I can guarantee you I can get Levi Strauss, somebody, some major textile industry to come to New Orleans, because I'm gonna tell them we got unused land, big as you wanna build. I just need you to give my people $17 an hour at least starting, no temp, without benefits type nothing. Come create an industry here and I'll let you be the foremost company. And so Levi will come when I tell him, you won't pay me no property tax for 20 years. You know why they won't? Because they're paying y'all. And because we own the land already and we weren't even cutting the grass on it. So I'll give them 20 years. And then in 20 years, they'll start paying us. And we'll make sure that they've been treating all of our citizens right and that they haven't, affected the wage in any ill or adverse manner. And checks and balances, man. It's real. Manager, administrator, general manager. That's what I'm coming to offer my city. They've watched me do this on Instagram and Facebook Live and in the courthouse and in the rallies and in the city council meetings.
And what about crime? Do you have like a specific agenda for like the violent crime, like murder rates and carjacking?
Yes. So I work post-conviction. That means people who have been wrongfully convicted, I help them get out of prison, right? But while I was doing that, I learned that, like Richard Pryor said, we need penitentiaries. You know what I'm saying? We really need them. Some people dysfunction to a point where it's incorrigible, it can't be rehabilitated, right? And that's a shame because they weren't born that way. But that brings me to how I want to address your question, please. Let me ask you a series of questions to address your question. Is that okay? Because I know that's rude, but we will get to it. So, the majority of the crime in the city committed by who?
I don't have the statistics. I don't want to just.
What demographic?
I don't have. I'm not gonna say.
In Orleans Parish. Okay, so let's use statistics I know. I'm glad you're smart. Thank you. Never speak contrary to the mission. That was a foul question. Let me tell you what Orleans Parish data that supports. Okay, 97 point something percent conviction rate, 2 lane and broad, and that 90-something% of them convictions black people. Can we stop there?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Do you know what the black population is in Angola?
What it is?
The majority black. We can say that for certain. You know what it is in Hunts?
It's gonna be majority black. But that's Louisiana, period.
All right. Okay. So I'm asking a series of questions. I'm painting a picture for the audience. So, are black people the stupidest people on the planet?
No.
Is there a standard you can show me, a gauge where you can prove that?
No.
Okay. So have you ever began to try to contemplate or pontificate what the root causes are?
For a crime?
Yeah.
It's poverty.
Okay. Have you ever heard a discussion, mass media, political, election cycle, that discussed cause? Or do you...
No, it's always the solution to the crime. Yeah.
Effect, right? And then the solution, which is, when we're talking about crime in New Orleans, how old are you?
29.
So in your 29 years, you've been paying attention for at least 9 on the news. In the last 9 years, they've been telling you that who's the crime issue?
Youth is the crime issue.
Your demographic, specifically. You a criminal?
No, not even a felon.
You ever been profiled?
Multiple times.
They thought you was that, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So, true relief, man. A true discussion about the second-class citizenry, about how we still operate under Confederate mandate. It went from slave to black code to indentured servitude to Jim Crow to what we have currently, and we're in the same positioning, and we actually own less land in New Orleans specifically and nationwide than we did in the 50s when we were chained under Jim Crow. So what we have to do, man, is begin to address the sociological conditions. So that's what you've been asking me about. How I'm gonna get y'all some jobs? How I'm gonna get y'all some relief from the profiling? How am I going to curb that the crime that isn't even about need, that's more about just being misguided and lost with no direction, right? It's the programming, the family. So our budget in New Orleans, the last mayoral election cycle, I can't remember what the exact numbers were, but the lowest thing that we appropriated from our city budgeting, from your city council, was family and youth programming. That's what they had the least concern about. And it was 3%. You hear me? First of all, whatever discretion I have to use, I'm gonna prove that I can take half of what they give policing and crime won't increase and give that to youth and family programming. It's the proactivity versus the reactivity. It's just how you want to look at it. Is the glass half empty or is it half full? Well, if you're real thirsty, it might look half empty. But if you've been quenching yourself, the glass is going to look half full. That ain't really as subjective as people think it is. And so, to a person who has no life understanding, no heuristic space, no travel, they would think I evaded this question. But it's a sociological issue. I have to address the conditions. Why they wilding out in the East in particular? Because look at the gutters falling off the houses. Look at how it look. Look at how it's overrun, like it's a third world country in some places. That would make you think that law might be a little bit more lax here, or at least standard, right? It would give the human psyche that notion. And so, yeah, man, we're going to deal with all of the sociological theories like I was just discussing, like broken windows. We're going to deal with a disbandment of, second-class citizenries, one set of rules, period. And then that will encourage the manifestation back into the family structure, where the uncle can encourage the little boy to do right. Because you see, you ain't gonna just be picked on. You ain't gotta wild out and take no chance. If you doing what you're supposed to do, like how Papa telling you, ain't nothing gonna happen to you outside the box like they used to happen no more. And we can set that model right here in New Orleans, and it would catch on instantly globally, everywhere where black people dominate, like Southside Chicago, Gary, Indiana, part of DC, Oakland, California. You feel me? And so Dr. King has, if you go, last time I checked, because there's new ones all the time, there's 100 and something publications about Dr. King. He only wrote 4 of them. The last one he wrote was Why We Can't Wait. Everyone your age needs to go read that book, and then y'all understand why Mr. Byron been what they call cutting up. But I want to say this at the end of this answer to this question. Their tact and their etiquette enslave you in a game of ever-changing rules dictated and mitigated by them. Meaning, white people in a restaurant, ha, 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 John, ha, ha, ha. They're enjoying the spoils of life, the pursuit of happiness. Black people, that's niggerish. White people in the movie laughing loudly and talking, come on, calm down, John. For black people, they go get you, you got to get out. They're going to go get the people for you. And so, where we are the majority, we can unapologetically disband all of that right now, October 9th, with someone who has proven that that is their priority, that that is their mission. Not take a chance on what I'm going to try to do for you, or if I know the right answer on what's wrong with the engineering at Sewage and Water Board. I'm smart enough to go get Calvin Mackey, and he going to tell us. I'm smart enough to go get a Myron Mitchell, and he gonna tell us, not because I like them and they cool, but because they are proven to be scientific minds on a national level. They are right here that get no say-so or input in that process. Why hasn't some mayor written them a contract? I will. And for every other specialty in my city, I know the educators, I know the thinkers, I know the movers, the shakers, the executive producers who can fund, and we're going to get things done. And don't forget my tolls. We're going to be buck jumping in the street. The city going to pay for the cold drinks sometimes. Watch.
I have a question. How do you feel the gentrification plays a part of the crime in New Orleans East? Like the gentrification of the actual city?
Well, I mean, so that's a great question. And can you take this, please? Can I get another and take the lid off? That's a great question, because I know you know the answer, but you want your peers to know.
Yeah.
So, I grew up in the New Orleans where when we went, I could go in a 6, I could go in an 8, but even in the 9, and that's downtown, you better watch where you go hollering at their prettiest girl, you heard me? And so, without exaggerating that or sensationalizing it, they took all of the different sections and all of their social ills and the problems that they were having within their own communities and from all the different communities, and they forced them due to socioeconomic standard to one part of the city that was already neglected before Katrina and lacking infrastructure. And so you literally have people with no cars, that have no restaurant, walking distance. And so, when you're living so uncomfortable that, it's hard to have an existence and harmonious existence with your neighbor, it just perpetuates the dysfunction. And so that's what we're seeing in New Orleans East. Not to mention the fact that if there is a city that we could flag as, a part of the city that we could flag as Slumlord Central, it would be New Orleans East. since my video I made that went live, I got so many people calling me, telling me, showing me rain coming through their roof while it's raining. Them big old holes where it rained 4 months ago and the man came, cut it out, and that hole just been sitting there, and spiders and squirrels coming in their house. And like, they're reporting these things to the proper channels, but those channels are so backed up because they're underfunded and under-resourced, because our focus is going on what manifests the prosperity for the transplant and for the capitalism. Do you understand? And I'm gonna shut all that down.
Okay, what about
Thank you.
what about marijuana? Like as far as like decriminalizing weed and giving lesser penalties, if penalties at all in Orleans Parish.
You smoke weed, son?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, can you tell me why?
I
Just
smoke weed
any of your
because-
reasons, and ain't no right answer.
I mean, I just don't feel like it's a bad thing. Just as people smoke cigarettes and tobacco and do alcohol, I smoke weed.
Okay, and what I want you to know is we're being ignorant right now, you and I. We're using a very old, cliche slang when we use the term weed.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know why we use that term?
Well, I use marijuana first.
But you responded and interjected with me and used weed just now.
But I use it because I don't know why, like the word, I feel like the word is used weed because you use weed you pull it out and throw it away. You don't necessarily like, it's nothing for profit or anything like that. It's more a bad thing. That's why people use it as such. You know what I'm saying?
No, that's not why.
What is it?
The reason why people use the word weed for marijuana is because in all of the attempts to eradicate it from the planet, they cannot. It's God's gift to you. That's why it's weed. What's a weed? Something that you don't see everywhere. You can't get, people right now, there's a whole lawsuit where people have been dropping dead for trying to be unnatural and manicure their lawns to the point where it looked like carpet, the effluent, and been spraying this stuff that's making them drop like flies now, man, for straying from their naturality. So the reason why you even though you use the word marijuana, the reason why you just said weed with me twice and didn't think twice of it is because it has that name because it can't shake it. There have been attempts to eradicate it. They cannot. You get what I'm saying? And so it really is your gift. And so that's what I want to tell you. I'm going to do you a favor and let you know, this is the first I've spoken on this. Last election cycle, I didn't mention it at all, right? I'm going to not only decriminalize it, but it won't be illegal at all. If you're trying to sell somebody a pound of weed on Canal Street, you're going to go to jail or wherever street, because that doesn't fit the protocol of what we're trying to create in a harmonious community, right? But you sitting on your porch, even outside in on your property line, and smoking all day with your friends, as long as they're not harming anyone or on anyone else's property line or causing any property damage, there's no other issue.
That's how I feel.
You won't have any problems. And let me tell you why I have to do that. Because it's part of what perpetuates the prison pipeline. Those victimless crimes, and all of the money generated for the system that reinforces the subjugation through building new jails and adding more sheriffs and hearing the cries about more police and the funding for that. A lot of that rests on the back of black people in Orleans Parish being falsely adjudicated for a gift that they've been given from God. And so let me tell you why I'm bold enough to make that statement within an election cycle. Because do you know that caffeine in your Coke that you're gonna drink whenever you have one, that was a Schedule I drug. That's how it was deemed federally by the United States in the beginning, with heroin and coca, all same classification. Coca-Cola used to have cocaine in their beverage. They sued the United States because it made them stop being able to do it, to, you know, put the cocaine in there because of the addictive properties, right? And as a sidebar, the U.S. said, well, you know what? You can have caffeine, which at the time was outlawed and banned and given the same severity as the other two. So we have a whole nation of people running around, literally, black, white, whatever, that are addicted to a Schedule I drug. Like, that's the worst drug you can have, right? And the government knows this. Not a subjective opinion, but what studies have shown them, right? And they know that they've allowed us to be privy to capitalism exploiting us and addicting us at the same time in multiple facets, like nicotine, right? And so we all need to become conscious right now, start listening to real conversations, understand that a presentation without, so if I had the world's grandest idea to build a new type of bridge, right? And every engineer in the world said, oh my God, this dude's brilliant, right? Byron, how'd you come up with this blueprint, right? I don't know how I would explain coming up with the blueprint, but what I do know is that if it was my money and I got to ride on the bridge, I'm going to trust the best bridge builder they got with my blueprint, because I've never built no bridge, homie. You feel what I'm telling you? And so these candidates, they have no working models. They have no resume, no track record of the same forums we're invited to. We're talking about homelessness. They didn't invite me. I went and stood up for my right for democracy. They called the police on me. While the police are escorting me out and telling me they're gonna take me to jail, I'm yelling in the forum, I'm the only person that has currently 3 homeless people living in his house in a basement. But they're experts on homelessness. But I'm the only one addressing it and finding clothes for them and employment and dealing with their hygiene and making sure they got what they need and helping them get back on their feet and get readjusted and re-enter society and feel whole about them. It's a psychological thing because they have to prepare themselves. It's a spiritual thing because they have to be in alignment to even accept it happening and seeing it for them. Now, see, we talking, this Mayoral? This is where I'm at with my solutions. And so, yeah, man, listen to the conversations. I'm you. When I was rocking for Cardell Hayes, I said, my sign said, I am Cardell Hayes. I let people write what they wanted to on theirs. But what I was saying right then and there was, man, I could be on my way home within my right and have my daughter waiting on me. And it might take her 6 years to see me because of bureaucracy. I'm stopping all that. If I had been the mayor at that time, I would have came first and foremost and sat in the courtroom and demanded that Will Smith's wife and Drew Brees and them have to be seated in the back behind the doors like everyone else and not up with the lawyers like they were part of the adjudication. I saw 3 members of the jury staring at Will Smith's wife's friend's cleavage for minutes at a time while key testimony was being played out. And other people will corroborate this. And so my point is, where you don't force checks and balances and uplift those who have proven that it's imperative to them, you'll get what you get. There's nothing guaranteed though. It's helter skelter. You can't even define what you're gonna get because there's no platform or blueprint of it. It's my whim if I haven't proven or defined anything before I asked you to support me.